adoring audience. Is that the right word for you? Probably not. I hope you guys haven't minded the large gap between this video and the previous one. It's been a while. I haven't uploaded since the end of October for my Halloween special. Admittedly, when that video underperformed, I got a bit depressed. Thankfully, thanks to my good old pal Dan Root from Video Game Animation Study, my channel did get a nice boost to 1K, which I've found quite encouraging. So I'm feeling like making videos again. Unfortunately, to celebrate, I want to make a new set of emotes for the channel, and that's been quite the undertaking. So it's probably still going to be till at least February before I put out a proper video. No, a proper scripted one. So I hope you guys don't mind the unscripted format for this. I thought, if I'm gonna spend time animating new emotes, I might as well involve all of you. You guys might enjoy this. You might forgive the large gap in videos if I put out some half-assed attempt at demonstrating my very okay animation skills. Is that fair? So yeah, I've actually already gotten most of the pre-work done for most of these animations. I've got my reference layers, so let's go over the starting process a little bit. I know I've done a video in the past about how I animate, but just for the sake of those new to the channel, this one might be a bit better, or it could be much worse, but I guess we'll find out. I created a reference this time around to make my character more consistent across all of the animations. I'm honestly surprised I didn't think to do that sooner, back when I created the original batch back in 2017, beginning of 2018, somewhere in there. So yeah, the new animations should be more consistent as they follow this general scheme. The line at the bottom is to draw a line as to where I want the cloak of my character to end, which those of you who have watched the channel beyond just this video, you should know that my character does wear a cloak that goes down. I've done a little bit of a redesign to the cloak and the character as a whole. I've been trying to reinvent it just a little bit so that he can be more expressive. I kind of fell into the habit of forgetting that he was a cartoon and therefore I could have him make more exaggerated movements even with the metallic parts of the body. I don't know why I put that limitation on myself. I guess it's just a weird thing. But yeah, for the new emotes, I am completely revamping all of the old ones from scratch because I want them to be more lively and expressive. I'm adding in some idle fidgets so they're not just repeating loops with no variation whenever they're playing. And I created 5 entirely new emotes. So let's go over some of these. The one that's most commonly used by me is my calm emote. Originally is just the cape waving around a little bit, but now the character's got a little twirl. I'll try to put that in the footage overlay, because I can't show it while I'm recording like this. Well, I guess I could, but it'd be more trouble than it's worth. I'm quite fond of the cunning one. That one's mostly gone unchanged. I can't remember what change I was going to make to this one, honestly. But I guess I'll get to that. I haven't actually animated some of these. I've mostly been focusing on the new emotes first. The good old Dread. I did adjust this one to be a bit more floaty and let the flame move from one side of the body to the other rather than just dangling out the left horn, or I guess the right horn looking forward. Excited. This one was always my favorite of the original set because of the alternating exclamation marks made of gas. I did change the gas color for the new animations to be a sort of pinkish purple because I think that's a more distinct color against the blue background. And using a light bluish green isn't really conducive to conveyance when your entire background of your videos is a shade of blue. This one should be mostly the same. I did make some adjustments. I'm going to have some bulges come out along the edges of the horns whenever the smoke's coming out. It might take a break between the smoke to do some other animation. I haven't entirely decided on that one, but it's mostly going to remain the same. One of the biggest design elements I changed about all these is the chain around my character's neck. It used to just be a chain, but I decided to incorporate a little bit of a logo into it. A CL for CriticaLink, obviously. Yeah, I just thought it was a nice little touch. It's not a major thing. It's not going to distract from the regular design, and I don't think most people will even notice. But it was a fun little touch to add. Fuming, that one's going to be quite different. That one was also a pretty good one, although I didn't get much use out of it. Fury, that one's one of my favorites, but it's a pretty big one, so I have had the issue of that one not getting used just because most of it's not seen. I am trying to work on adjustments to it, though, so hopefully that'll change. The happy one should remain largely the same as well, maybe a bit more exaggerated and changes in facial expression. Heating up, this one, it's... Once again, more exaggerated pipe animations to tag along with the chains. Possibly flame animation, as I have annotated there. Maybe alternating with the chains. Love is also a pretty decent one. I figured it might be more impactful if I have it go from a closed cape to an open one occasionally. I'm going to have to tweak the proportions on the cloak for the closed version, but other than that, I think it's mostly good. Mischief, this one's a bit confusing just because of the way I have the color, but I needed to make it more distinct for when I'm working on the keyframes. This is going to... Actually, I already have an existing Mischief. This one's actually pretty drastically different. It's conveying the same emotion, and I kept the facial expression similar, but the animation itself is going to be very, very different. More snickering, scheming asshole than just weird hand wavy in front of the body. I don't know, honestly. Peeved. This one looks like it'll be pretty fun. The original design was mostly just an alternate version of Calm, so it didn't have much going on, but now I gave it a little fidget where the character will raise an eyebrow and maybe close and open the horns to alternate what's coming out. Should be fun. Cape flutters a bit more now, so that should be interesting. Cheeky. This one... I think I accidentally created 2 emotes in one with this, but the Twitter response seems pretty good. I'll post this. This was one of the ones I actually have completed, so I'm going to post that over the current footage just so you guys can see a little bit of it. This one turned out pretty good. I gave him a smoke mustache that he blows up with his mouth to make a smoke eyebrow. A furrowed one at that. I just thought it was a little cute little animation. And he twirls his mustache with his flame hand. It's great. I love it. Pointing, this one hasn't actually gotten used yet. I'm probably going to get to it at some point. I'm only at 4 animations. I'm on the 5th right now. But yeah, this one should be coming up. I'm working my way through the folder by alphabetical order. Billowing was an interesting one. I think this is the furthest I've taken the expression of the character's face. Got some comments saying it's like Kirby, the way he inhales, which isn't really conveyed in the rough, but you can see what I actually have going on over here. He's got little eyebrows that puff out of his face, and his chest swells up with the air, and he inhales before puffing out more smoke to form a new set of eyebrows. It's great. Spinning was... well, there's no real notes for that other than the little twirl icon. I basically just ran that from scratch when I was putting it together. I think that one's my favorite just because it gives a 360-degree view of my character, and I haven't really done that before. And the current one I'm working on is Koi. Honestly, I don't know if I spelled that right, but yeah, this one's kind of cutesy, and I'm quite fond of it. That's the one we will be working on today. So, hope you enjoy that. Let's get to it. Right, so where I currently am, I've actually made some progress. I don't know if I'm going to finish this entire thing for this video, or if I'm going to record it in chunks, but I guess time will decide. Here's a little bit. I usually start with the lines in a blue color just so I can easily figure out where everything is when I'm working on the actual line work. Right now I've focused on making the cloak. So far I've gotten the shading drawn, which is, to me, the most important part. One of the things I really like about Toon Boom Harmony is that if you copy and paste frames, it'll actually translate the shading or whatever drawing changes you make to the repeat frames in later sections, which is why these are able to look so consistent. Normally, I wouldn't have the cape go on for that long, but because the flame on the character has its own animation, it's kind of necessary. You can't see the flame because I haven't fully animated everything for this yet, but the flame's running in the background, and if it goes out of sync, it'll look pretty jarring for people watching it if it suddenly flicks to a different frame and isn't synced up with the cloak. So I had to copy and paste until the final keyframe of the cloak and the fire were lined up. But I think that is probably the hardest part of this particular animation. That was the one I had to copy and paste the most to get that across. Now, the state I'm at right now is I'm trying to finish the cloak animation. I know I just said that, but you know, it is what it is. First thing, coloring everything. Pretty straightforward, I reckon. Oops. It looks pretty bad right now, but I'll show you what I'm going to do in a minute. Just gotta fill in those gaps. And rather than sit in silence, how about I get some music going to set the mood? I somehow forgot to do that. Copyright claim me if you want, Nintendo. I'm not making money off of this anyway. Yeah, I really like animating fabric. I wouldn't say I'm great at it, but it's probably the part of the process I enjoy the most. Yeah, I find it very relaxing. Now, let's see. Now that all of that is colored in properly, I'll show you the next step that I usually take. It's to circle all of the gradients. This will get them all synced up. Get that lined up properly. I like to set this to the highest point and the lowest point of the cloak so that the gradient comes across more gradually. Well, I guess that doesn't look great in the current state, so let me try and set the high point down here. There we go. That's better. I know it's not the most exciting thing to watch this, but, you know, hopefully it's as relaxing for you as it is for me, or at least interesting. I definitely recommend animating if you're at all interested. I have no formal training, so don't be intimidated by whether or not you've gone to school for it. I learned through a lot of investment of time how to hand draw all this stuff. And it's a lot of fun, honestly. It's probably been the highlight of the last 8 years of my life. I wouldn't say I'm great at it. There's plenty of people that can draw circles around me, both figuratively and literally. I'm pretty sure even some of you guys could draw circles around me even without any artistic talent. Even if most of us can't actually draw proper circles. But that's what tools are for. That's what tools are for. Get the circle tool and just draw a nice big circle around me. There you go. Yeah. If you have any interest in animating, especially hand-drawn animation, just do it. If you can get yourself a hold of any software that allows for frame-by-frame animation, it is totally worth the time. I think, what's that software called? It used to be called manga something. I forget what it's called. There's a lot of soft photo editing software these days that comes with frame animation options. I originally started animating in Photoshop almost exclusively. It was a terrible, terrible idea. That was long before my current channel existed. That was on my old channel. I'll put a link in the description for those of you that want to see me at my most mediocre. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. Photoshop was my introduction to animation. I can recall back in high school, I used to fuck around with creating GIFs of stick figures fighting each other to the death during class. And it was amazing. They didn't have the timing that they should have had. I've gotten a lot better at that over the years, but the point still stood that it was a lot of fun. And really, that's what matters. I admittedly am not good at editing, but I do hope that my animations at least distract from my mediocre editing skills. There you go. There's that good old weakness and self-deprivation. Yeah, I guess that's the word. My brain no work good for talking on videos since I haven't done it in so long. Maybe if I had the time, I would actually stream this stuff, but I'm not sure who would watch, honestly. I know I wouldn't. But it might actually keep me talking. Who knows? Who knows? And the next part is the chain. As you can see, the stuff was applied across all of these, which is very good. It's very, very good. Now it's how you color all the chains. And for those of you who are wondering what the video schedule is, in case you don't follow me on Twitter, my next video is probably going to be Ocarina of Time, followed by Steins Gate My Darling's Embrace, because I am weeb trash and I thoroughly embrace that. Incidentally, I think that Steins Gate My Darling's Embrace is more true to the original Steins Gate visual novel and anime than Steins Gate Zero. Which I realize is a pretty bold statement, but it's true. You heard it here first, folks. Darling's Embrace is a better sequel to Steins Gate than Steins Gate Zero. And I don't know why the software is pretending that line doesn't exist, but I'll just redraw it. And on the subject of Steins Gate, I know you're listening, and you should still watch it. Just go onto the UK Netflix, get a VPN and watch it on there. It's a good show, good time travel. Do so before Hollywood soils it with the live-action adaptation. That'll shake him up a bit. I could probably zoom in on this to fill those gaps, but that would make too much sense, and we don't do that. Not where I live. If you make sense, you're in the wrong career field. Now, honestly, the biggest problem for me with animating this stuff is usually the pattern on the cloak. That is easily the most cumbersome. I think it adds a lot of personality to the character design that wouldn't be there if I just left it as line work and a solid blue cloak, which is part of the reason I have it there. And I like to have it as a reference to Zelda Breath of the Wild. The cloak on my character is moderately inspired by the champion tunic from Breath of the Wild. Well, I know some people are curious what the inspirations behind my character design are, and it's mildly derivative of both Pyrojack from the Persona series and, to a much lesser extent, the Lampent line in Pokemon. Also, Jesus Christ, that music is getting very loud. Let me reduce that a bit. There we go. Can you guys hear me again? I hope that wasn't too loud. I know I certainly went deaf from it. Where was I? Yeah, I forgot where I was going with that. Yeah, there we go. Nice black sheen to the chains, and there's a particular reason I wanted to get that done. So, the next thing about this is I have to go into Cloak 1 and Pattern. This can be a bit annoying if I mess it up, but I usually need to highlight every gradient color and the shading of every bit of this and copy it into the other layer, like so. And that's because I'm using it as a mask. If I could use it as a mask without having to actually make a completely new layer, I totally would, because that would be amazing. But unfortunately, I don't live in that timeline. Masking is one of those things I love to hate, but I think figuring out how that stuff works in this program has helped my animations look a lot better this time around. I know a lot of you probably think they looked fine before, but I wasn't too pleased with how I handled the patterns on the first iterations of my animations. Originally, I just drew the pattern on the cloak and then hoped I didn't make it too obvious that I was drawing over the line work. Terrible idea. Absolutely awful, awful idea. Don't do it. Don't do drugs, kids. Don't do drugs. Oops. Yeah, a big part of the reason I prefer Toon Boom to Adobe Animate is because coloring a single palette over here will actually change it across the board whenever you recolor it. I mean, I'll probably demonstrate that later, but for now, I am going to focus on finishing copying this so I can show you how I handle the masking. Most of the masks are already set up, so this isn't so much a tutorial so much as it is just me bumbling through my animation process. This isn't quite as in-depth as some of my older videos, and I know those didn't go into how I handle masking. Maybe one day I'll do a proper tutorial. Maybe one day when I actually have more time. And maybe that'll actually be scripted, like a professional YouTuber. Oh, who am I kidding? I am the least professional person I know. Granted, I only know me, so... You know, I guess that's to be expected. Oop, almost forgot to get the shading there. Fortunately, if I do miss a spot with highlighting all this to copy, it's not going to hurt the animation for me to go back later and copy it again to fill the gap if I miss it. It'll just make it mildly irritating, at worst. As most things should be. One thing I hope is that I just don't accidentally snag one of the pieces of line work, because that's always the most annoying thing to try and get rid of. And since we got Breath of the Wild music playing in the background, I do want to just go off on a little tangent and complain about how the Smash Bros. Iteration of Champion Link didn't really change much of anything other than the bombs. It was a huge wasted opportunity. I thought that it would have been nice if they had gave him more of his moveset, maybe interchangeable weapons and stuff like he has in the games, maybe some of the champion abilities, but nope. Guess not. I mean, I know that sounds kind of petty, but when there are literally 3 links, I would at least like one of them to be significantly different. I always liked the feel of Link in Smash Bros. 4 on Wii U and 3DS, because he was weighty and he still had the normal Link mechanics. The game suffered from a similar issue because it still had 2 links, but I don't think it was as significant because there was a wide enough gap. But when you have Toon Link, Young Link, and Breath of the Wild Link, they do start to feel a bit homogenized because the void that was originally there between Toon Link and Adult Link was bridged between by Young Link, which kind of acts as a middle ground, and I'm honestly not too happy about that. No, I'm not usually. I haven't really talked about Smash Bros on this channel because it's not super important to me. But that's one of my little niggles about the game. One of the few things I wasn't too happy about is just a wasted opportunity. I know people are cross about Fire Emblem. I'm actually pretty happy about Byleth personally. I would like to see more Zelda representation outside of Link and Link and Link and Zelda and Ganon and I guess Sheik. I always forget about Sheik, but she is a ninja, so I guess she's doing her job if I forgot about her. Gotta be careful about that. I don't want to get stabbed by a harp. I gotta say though, Sheik is my least favorite thing about Ocarina of Time. I'll get more into that in my actual video review of that game, but of all the things in that game, that's my least favorite. Sure, the twist is really, really strong, considering that was the first time they really did something like that in the game, but outside of that, she is pretty much useless. All she does is teach Link music. You got a ninja running around, but she does almost nothing to help you outside of teach you songs that teleport you. And I guess you could argue that it is pretty handy to be able to teleport, but I'm a petty asshole, so that's not good enough for me. I need it to appeal to my taste. Because I'm a special little princess. That's how that works. That's right, I was Princess Zelda all along. That's the new twist. Yeah, I actually like the twist for Tetra a lot more. I know it wasn't as surprising because Ocarina of Time had already done that twist, but Tetra as a character is just far more involved in the actual story. And that makes her a lot better in my opinion. At least until she gets locked in Hyrule Castle. Then it kind of sucks. She's not my favorite iteration of Zelda. That still goes to Spirit Tracks if I'm being honest, but all the same. And for those of you that haven't played Spirit Tracks, I can't really fault you for it, but I gotta recommend it. I know it's not great, because it still has some of the shortcomings of Phantom Hourglass, but I do think it is a very, very good Zelda title. Even if some of the mechanics don't work as well as I would like. Gonna redo that, make it look a bit nicer. So who's your favorite version of Zelda in the Zelda games? I often hear Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild, which are all perfectly fine wrong examples. But you're all entitled to your opinions. I'll only judge you a little bit for being wrong. Don't worry. Ah, see? This is one of the examples I was talking about of me completely forgetting to copy and paste one bit of that. There we go. Problem solved, though. This process can be a bit tedious, but it's honestly my favorite part of this. Except for when it goes off the screen where I can't see it. But that's just part of the mystery. Did I actually get it in the right spot? No, I didn't! Amazing. And you guys get to witness it. Even someone as mediocre as me can make mistakes. And I'm sorry if I'm coming across as a snarky prick, but that's the only way I can keep myself talking. I assure you, it's only for your benefit. As is everything I do. Probably. Don't think too hard about it. I certainly don't. A big part of my inspiration to actually start on YouTube is a combination of Yahtzee Croshaw back on Zero Punctuation back in like the early 2010s and Plague of Gripes. I don't know if any of you guys have ever watched him. I think he's like my favorite YouTuber of all time. But yeah. Definitely recommend his channel. I feel like my sense of humor has a lot of common in him, mostly because I probably picked up a lot of it from watching his content all the time when I was younger. It's great stuff, great stuff. He doesn't upload as much anymore, but when he does, it's always quality stuff. And honestly, what more could you ask for? I always found his videos very encouraging. If you're ever looking for a good Let's Play series to watch, I wholeheartedly recommend you check out his Let's Play Dark Souls series. That one is a delight. I am kind of curious how far I'm actually going to get into animating this before I run out of music to play in the background. This isn't supposed to be a terribly long video, so maybe at some point after this pattern's done, I'll probably cut to a later point. That seems like a fair use of your time. I don't want to waste too much of it. You got better things to do than watch me. Like watching a video game animation study. That's a much more productive use of time than watching this. I guess I don't need that background layer active anymore because I already got the pattern drawn. I'll probably turn it back on later when I'm working on the arms. Any of you guys ever wonder what it sounds like for other people listening in on you to talk to yourself like this? Must be really weird. And I live in a dorm, so I'm pretty sure at least half the people around here can hear me. Just talking to myself like a complete maniac. Oh, I would love to see the looks on their faces. It sounds amazing. Okay, actually, the collar didn't move here, so this is actually a good opportunity for me to just go back to the previous section and copy the collar over there, because it should match perfectly to where I need it over here. Because at this point, it's just the lower part of the cloak that's swinging, which makes the rest of it less significant. I should probably add a keyframe just so I can track this. Let's see. Now, the pattern does not look very clean. Very much so. But I think in motion it usually looks fine. At least I think so. I'm not so petty about the pattern that I worry about it looking absolutely perfect when it's moving. I probably should, but that's too much time. And I want to actually get videos out. Plus, as long as it looks good in motion, that's really all that matters to me. I don't know if that's the right attitude for an animator to have, but it's the one I have. And I'm fine with being wrong. At least I've got my personality? No, I guess not. Hello all, welcome back. I don't know why I'm welcoming you back. For you, this has probably been like a literal second. I finished the work on the cloth and I have moved on to animating the horns. Let's just show you the cloth animation. I think it turned out pretty nice. Pretty nice. But now we're working on the horns. All that's left after the horns is the arms. I already went ahead and animated the face because that wasn't really much effort. It was mostly just drawing blobs for eyes, because I already got the mask applied to them. So any extra effects related to them was pretty unimportant since they were already in place. It's like a nested mask just to get the flames to work with that without having issues. It does make for a pretty nice effect though, I gotta say. Yeah. Hope you guys don't mind not watching the whole animation process. I have been trying to take a lot more time with the current set of emotes, because I do want the quality to be slightly higher than my existing set. I actually took a little bit of inspiration for my approach to animating the idle fidgets for these from Pokemon Black and White. And I paced them according to that, even though none of the animations are shared explicitly. Just the approach. They have like 3 repeated animations on each of the Pokemon, and then it'll switch to a idle fidget. That seems like the appropriate amount. Mine have a lot more frames, so hopefully it'll look better. No, more frames doesn't necessarily equate to things looking better, obviously, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean, or you better know what I mean. I'll know if you don't know. Trust me. I'm good like that. Yeah, here we are working on the horns. This is pretty easy for the most part. It doesn't require too much effort since I'm mostly doing the in-betweens. The horns were basically already drawn and the positions don't really change too much. So right now I'm just trying to get that done. One of these days, if I ever have a significant amount of free time that I'm not spending working on a video or playing through a game, I would like to try and animate a action sequence. But as it stands now, I just do not have the time. I barely have time for this and playing games. So, even when I'm taking a break, I'm really bad about taking a break. I still have been playing an absolute crap ton of Monster Hunter. I do want to do a review on Iceborne at some point, but I just can't find enough for me to talk about at the moment. I know there's plenty in the game that's worth talking about. Damn it. In regards to the differences between Iceborne and the base game, but considering it's not a complete new iteration, I could only really cover the new additions, and I want to make sure that whatever I say about that's going to have some value critically. If I'm just doing it to fill a void or tell you what the content is, then I'm no different from one of those launch day critiques from like IGN or GameSpot. And that's not to shit on them. Sometimes they do actually have good criticism, but my general opinion on those reviews, at least from when I used to watch them back in the day, is that they mostly focus on what the content is, rather than how the content works in tandem with itself and the other elements of the game to form something greater than the sum of its parts. And I do like to delve into that a bit, even though I'm not too good at talking about narratives in games. As you guys know, if you watch the channel, which you obviously do, I like to focus on the elements of the games that are mechanical, and more so than plot. I've been trying to dabble a bit more into that, or at least if there's some kind of connection between the mechanics and the story, I'll address that. But yeah, it's a lot of fun for me to look into the mechanics of games to try and understand how they tick. That's a lot of fun to me. It's also probably why I started to get into D&D over the last year or two. That's a whole nother thing. And maybe I'll talk about that someday. That's a lot to talk about. Maybe someday. Yeah. My backlog has been piling on between work and trying to make videos. I have had like no time to actually play new releases from last year. It's mildly upsetting. I wish I could play more, but that's just how it be sometimes, honestly. Can't win them all. Can't win them all. Funnily enough, my irresponsible buying habits has resulted in me owning most of the games I want to play that have come out over the last 2 years, and I just haven't gotten around to most of them. got Devil May Cry, Resi 2, a bunch of Nintendo games on Switch, and I haven't played any of them because I've been too busy playing the same things I always play, which is a terrible habit of mine, and I wonder if it's one that will ever be broken. Probably not. Probably not. Somewhat regrettable. Somewhat. Well, you know, it is what it is. Maybe if I didn't spend so much time animating, I'd be able to get out videos on more recent games. But that's the problem of having too many passions, I suppose. I want to spend my time playing games as much as I want to spend making videos and animating, and I just don't have that kind of time anymore. Working full-time will do that to you, especially when working full-time is not making videos. I could go into a whole tangent about how this feeds into the algorithm, making it so already successful channels have a better shot at remaining successful while small channels flounder to find the time to produce high-quality content. But it's not entirely fair, and it's a case-by-case basis. I do feel... I think a lot of YouTubers can agree that animators tend to get pretty shafted on YouTube, though. That's why I focus on more reusable assets for my channel rather than animating from scratch for every video, with the exception of the Link's Awakening one. I had to make that one extra special because it was Halloween. That's definitely not going to be a regular thing, I can assure you of that, because that tore my sanity apart. Which is kind of appropriate given the Eldritch theming, but yeah, you know. I'd rather not break my brain every time I try to make a video. It's not fun, especially when the reception is incredibly low. You know, just pouring your heart into something and then nothing comes of it. It's amazing. It's amazing how terrible that makes you feel inside. But, you know, the most important thing about being a YouTuber, I think, is perseverance. Small channel or large channel, it takes a lot to be able to keep it up. To be able to maintain your desire to remain creative. I've experienced my share of burnouts, and given the 3-month gap, I think it should be pretty apparent that still happens. Although that was less burnout and more being incredibly let down by how poorly my... whatever, I'm just regurgitating the same thing. But yeah, perseverance. That can get you very, very far. So if you are an aspiring YouTuber, just keep that in mind. Don't get so caught up in your views and subscriber count that it gets in the way of your ability to actually produce videos. Because the moment that becomes more important than your craft is when it actually will start to hurt your mental health to an extent. It's not a healthy line of thought. But who am I to judge? It probably happens to everyone at one point or another. And it's a learning experience. I learned it. And I still tend to make that mistake occasionally. But I've been doing a lot better about it. Something, I don't know, something about like a few months ago when winter finally rolled in, like all of my stress just suddenly stopped. And I guess I just stopped caring about how my channel performed. I'll still bitch about the algorithm to no end, because it's well deserved in how it treats smaller channels, but yeah, I just don't care anymore. I just like making videos. And I want to focus more on my quality of craft over quantity and putting out regular content, because that's clearly not for me. It's too stressful. And it's stressful even to larger channels. At least from what I understand. That's why it's kind of admirable for some Let's Play channels to be able to maintain the pace they do. I realize that they record in large chunks, but uploading daily, weekly content is pretty impressive. Especially if a lot of editing goes into it. All the more so if somebody uploads regularly and it's actually edited and not a Let's Play. Like, he doesn't do daily content, but Schmidt Times does an insanely good job of keeping up a high quality of content while uploading pretty often. If you haven't checked out his stuff, it's pretty good. I'll put a link in the description along with a video game animation study for those of you interested. I was still wondering when that next Nintendo Direct is going to be. I would have thought it would have happened already, like everyone else, but I guess it hasn't, unless it has before this video went out, in which case that was an awesome Direct, probably, hopefully. Man, that Breath of the Wild 2 sure looks good. Are you buying it? Are you buying that I saw the Direct? No? Fuck you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the future of this channel. Even if it's not going to be a particularly bright future, I think I'm going to have a fun time with it. Oops, overshot that. Nope, still not. There we go. No, I don't know if I'll actually do anything with it for content, but I am making a trip to Japan sometime in April, so I'm not usually one to take footage or photos or videos while I'm on trips. I'm definitely not going to record any games or probably even play any while I'm over there outside of arcades. You know, maybe I can put together some kind of video when I get back about my time there. Maybe I'll just review Japan. That'll be great, I'm sure. You know, just throwing the idea out there. Just consider this a bit of a video litmus test. If you like the idea of me doing a video about Japan for whatever reason, I'll consider it if I get a comment about it, maybe. I don't know. Don't hold me to that. Or do. I'm not a cop. I will only judge you harshly if you hold that against me. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that trip. I haven't actually been to Japan since I was born there. I think I left when I was like a year or two old. Don't really remember anything, but I've always wanted to go back. And I am very much looking forward to it. If I'm capable of it, I would like to move back there at some point. But that's a ways off, unless I luck out. Why luck out? I can't really get into that. Nope. Missed that. There we go. Doing the same thing we did with the cloth last time, except this time on the horns, in case you couldn't tell. Some of you could just be listening to this as background audio because you like the sultry sound of my nasally voice for some reason. Don't worry, I'm only judging you a little bit. And you have good taste. You have good taste. Okay, there we go. Make the head visible again. And now let's do the gradient. This is handled pretty much identical to the way I handle it with the cloth. Except I drag it just below the chain. Unfortunately, since the horns are on different parts of the object, it does run into a slight issue where I'm going to have to go through all of them again, but it's relatively minor. It's just annoying. I basically take this exact same approach to all of the emotes I make. The hardest part comes down to the line work and in-betweens, but the coloring can be the most relaxing and tedious part of the whole process. Easily. That's the rear horn done. Now we move on to the front horn. Wish I could set the gradients to do this by default. For all I know, there could be a feature like that, but I just don't know about it because I'm an idiot. Which is a wholehearted fact. There we go. This is not complete because it still needs the arms, but here's what we got so far. The body mostly moves the same, so the main animated features beyond that are going to be the hands and the face, as you can plainly see. I'm a bit dubious about how that looks, though. The face seems a bit at odds with the horn movement. Probably because the eyes have more squash and stretch, while the horns are just one flat movement. So let's see if I can't fix that. maybe I could have it set to be like this. And it might look better. Let me see. That looks better. Just had to rearrange those frames. And didn't result in a significant change either. Yeah, that looks way better. Don't you think? No? Just me? Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of how the eyes look there, even though it's just a simple squash and stretch. I don't really mess with squash and stretch too much. But it was a fun addition to this. Next up, that just leaves the hands. And considering the rest of these are going to be on top, the hands are going to be there and there. So it should be simple enough. It's got to make a new layer for the hands. Let's call it hands. And let's figure out where the hell this thing put it. Oh yeah, of course I put it at the very bottom. Right where we don't want it. Hands tend to be one of the weirder parts of my animations, I find, since they don't really apply to physics in the same way as other parts of my drawings. But it should be fine all the same. I don't know how you guys are for board games, but maybe one day if I actually get a proper camera set up, I could review shogi. I'm sure you guys would love that. It's actually my favorite strategy game. I play it every single day at work during my lunch breaks. But that's a whole other thing. For those of you that don't know what shogi is, it's basically Japanese chess. That's the best way to put it, I suppose. It's worth looking into if you're at all interested. Though it is, all the pieces are written in kanji, so if that's a problem, then you can get used to it. The friend I play against doesn't read Japanese, so he can play it just fine once he learned to identify them based on the symbols. I'm going to take a quick break to get some more soda to drink, and then I... Well, that was a good break. Now let's get back to hands. Who doesn't like hands? We all have them, probably. Except for maybe those of us that lost them in tragic accidents or were born without them for whatever reason. No judging here. I'm pretty sure most of us don't have fire hands, though. That's probably a bodily injury if you do have that. Let's be real. And it's probably not in the same sense, unless it's like an ongoing fire. But at any rate, we are animating the hands of my character. That's the wrong set of hands. Oops. Not a big deal, though. So, the first one is going to be my character sticking his fingers together in a embarrassed manner. Just because I thought it would be cute. And that's always enough. Cuteness is always the answer. Never forget that. Maybe I'll just cut out the large bouts of silence in this video, but other than that, should be alright, probably. Depends on how much everyone wants to watch me meticulously draw different parts of the drawing. The only reason I'm drawing this one in black is because there's not going to be a huge difference between it and the final iteration. In fact, I can even just color in the core of the hands. It's going to be fairly different. I'm going to have to make that invisible, though. Now, ideally, my character's hands, when pushed together like this, will form in a manner like this, I reckon. Hands are kind of the weirdest part of the character to draw just because they are kind of formless in the traditional sense. Oops. Does make it hard to convey the physicality as much as I'd like when I still want to convey the looseness of the fire. But I think, generally speaking, I succeed. Oh, it's nothing too complex. Beautiful. Now the hard part is coming up with how many frames I want in between. I'm probably not going to have too many for this, because it's not a complex motion, aside from the flickering of the flames. But even then, it should be relatively simple. I don't want to put more detail than most people are going to be willing to process. Especially when the focus of my videos tends to be the games I'm talking about in the first place. As far as I'm concerned, these are just needlessly complicated additions of extra flavor I add to my videos, mostly for my own entertainment and for some other people's entertainment. I do have to wonder what percentage of YouTube viewers actually watch videos versus those that just listen to them, though. That is a good question, if you ask me. I missed a bump there. Other than that, it looked fine. But I do like to at least keep that kind of consistency. Now, usually when I do these kinds of animations, I'm going to short form certain parts of it so that it will go together pretty well. Like in this case, I'm only doing the middle frame between those two poses, and then a middle frame between the middle frame that I already drew and the actual final keyframe of that segment. Because it does give a inclination that it's a sudden jolt in movement and a more gradual slowdown as it reaches the end point. I'm not good at the technical terms for animating stuff, so forgive me. You'd think that if I did this for so long I would actually pick it up, but apparently not. I know only the most basic of terms. And even then, I'm so forgetful half the time, I probably won't remember them anyway. In fact, I'm pretty sure squash and stretch is some kind of recipe for squash casserole or something. I could probably be convinced of that, honestly. Squash casserole is actually pretty good. Don't know why I'm going on a food tangent, but, you know. There you go. Eat squash casserole, kids. It's healthy and delicious. There we go. Do, 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 do. And you can use future frames as reference for older ones. That's always my favorite part, too. I guess I wasn't... Maybe I was thinking what I was planning on saying there, and I just responded to that. So if you got lost because of that sudden statement, you're welcome. I am happy to confuse my friends, subscribers, allies, criminals, war heroes. I don't know what you guys are. You are people that enjoy my garbage at any rate. To which I am grateful. You know what Zelda game I haven't played in a long time? Twilight Princess. It's easily my favorite 3D Zelda game outside of Majora's Mask for when I want to play a proper Zelda, but I just haven't gotten around to playing it again. I've played Ocarina of Time a billion times between 3DS and N64 and emulator ports on Wii U and all that junk, but I haven't gotten around to playing Twilight Princess all the way through again, not even when the HD remake came out. I don't know. I just didn't like that remake quite as much as I enjoyed the, what was I gonna say? The Wii version. Something about the, something about the controls just resonates with me a lot more with that. Alright. Sorry I had to step away for a minute. But we're back at the hands. The hands of fate. Or at least the hands of an animator. Close enough. And once this animation's done, that means I'll only have 10 left to go. Progress. Love it. Absolutely love it. I am getting a bit antsy about not having put out a proper video in a while, though. So I am looking forward to when all these are done so I can actually start production on another video. That will be nice. Let's see. Let's see. See, the final keyframe on this, I am wanting to be the fingers meeting there with the hand curving in like that. That should be good. Or perhaps it shan't. Who can say? I guess we'll find out. Nope. Let's see, there we go. One problem I have with my drawing tablet is that it occasionally likes to think that I'm holding down the pen when I am not. One of the many annoyances. I wonder if that's only a Windows issue, though. I suspect it is. And I only ever really had that problem when I made the switch from Windows 7 to Windows 10. Still strange that they never updated the software too much accordingly with the Cintiq tablet. Mildly irritating. Okay. It's a bit too in line with the red. I want to keep it in the middle. should be the last step, and then we can see how it all comes together. And if that doesn't make you disappointed in me when it turns out to be very okay, that's the outcome I desired. How dare you expect better of me? You only really have yourselves to blame, honestly. Alright, and of course, you all know what this means if you've been paying attention to your homework. Fortunately, this one's a bit easier for me to see. That's right. Okay. Perfect. Now let's put it all together. Save that. Change the color to match the chain. And there you go. Let's see how it turned out. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Oh, I guess I did forget one small detail. But it is pretty much completed. This is a pretty trivial detail I'm wanting to add, but it's... I wouldn't even say it's a necessary one. It's just one I want. Because I think it will accentuate the cuteness, as it should be. As nature intended. I think I should probably make this about 3 frames. Just adding a little bit of blushing. So that's just beautiful. Beautiful. Now let's see how terrible this looks. Yes, I love it. The only thing I might change is on the first set of frames, this one particular bit right there probably needs to go, because it stands out a bit too much for me. Let's give it one more pass. And that should be good. Well, I hope you all enjoyed the video. I know I spent a fair chunk of it in silence and whinging about unrelated details to the video, but I hope you all enjoyed it nonetheless. If you guys want to support the channel, like and subscribe. I also have a Patreon that I always forget to talk about, but that's neither here nor there, if I'm being honest. Just having your viewership is usually enough for me. Well, that's my day spent, so I hope you all have a good one, and I look forward to you guys watching my next proper scripted video. Have a good one, and I hope this video lit a fire under you.